just let it do its robot thing. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eleanor Mills. I'm the founder of Noon, which is a community for women in midlife. We call them Queenagers. And we are totally thrilled and delighted to have Trinny with us tonight, because after all, who could be a better Queenager icon than Trinny? And which I wrote about in my newsletter yesterday, and loads of you have sent us lots and lots of questions. So we're going to be putting some of those to Trinny. And Trinny, welcome.
Lovely to be here. I mean, it's fantastic. 3 pages. It's like a company meeting, but nice. I mean, good, but it's, always weird getting back used to Zooms. I don't know. But I think it's when you must meet as regularly as you meet, you feel like you're nearly in each other's sitting rooms.
Exactly. I think there's something quite intimate about a Zoom like this, rather than doing it on kind of Insta or something, and it feels a bit more, and it's more kind of specific to our community. And we do these Noon book clubs several times a year, and we've had everyone from kind of Curtis Sittenfeld to you, to all sorts of people. So it's always an exciting occasion. And what I really try and do is let lots of the ladies on the chat, our lovely Queenagers,
recording in progress.
Ask their questions. So nice to see lots of you with your cameras on too. So if you can all keep on mute while we have this conversation, that would be good, or it really will become a bit like a meeting which has got out of control. So Trinny, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. All of you, all the members of the Noon community have received a copy of your book, because they're Queenagers. So lots of them will have read it. And I just wanted to start off by asking you, why did you write it? What was your big kind of urge to put it all down?
I think because I have over the years talked about lots of different things, and talked a lot, originally TV as a medium and newspapers, but more recently across social media. And I talk slightly differently on each platform. I might do slightly different things I do on YouTube. Facebook and Instagram could be quite similar. TikTok is a world to itself. So I would get certain people who'd say to me, could you put that all in one place? And so I thought to myself, could I do that? Not sure if I could do that. Do I have time to do that? And then at the same time, our mutual publisher approached me for HarperCollins and said, look, would you do a book? And then that sort of prompted me. And I thought, actually, maybe if she thinks there might be room for a book, then perhaps there's a room for a book, as opposed to it being a service for people who followed me already, who just said, I want everything in one place. So that's really, that's it.
Do you feel that through the book you have also reached a different kind of audience than the audience that you get through social media? Is it different?
Yeah, in ways you might not imagine. So I think there's people who only know me for doing What Not to Wear. So I'll be introduced, Trinny used to do What Not to Wear. And I didn't have a license then, so I'll have that, which nearly was BBC News this morning. It's like they love to refer back, show the really old clips of something I did 20 years ago. But it's what you're most known for according to the audience. So then I have people who just follow me on social who never knew I did TV. Then I have people who know me as the founder of Trinny London, but don't know that I had a TV career before. So they're all different types of people. And so writing this book, some people who didn't know I'd done anything since telly realize I've had a career since then reading the book. And people who've met me through Trinny London find out that I, talk a little bit too about fashion and style.
Which is
real mix.
Yeah, no. And I was particularly interested in talking to you because I'm very interested in your work as an entrepreneur, and that shift into becoming a female founder kind of in midlife, which is something I've done too. I was a journalist for a very long time, and I became a founder at 50. And I was reading something the other day which was saying that actually there are more women in their 50s founding businesses than any other demographic, and we're more likely to be successful at it. You're blazing the trail.
I did. I read that as well, and I loved that stat so much because God knows if I, I did try to start businesses. I started business in every decade of my life, actually, none of which got very far, but not for the want of trying. And maybe I wasn't ready till now. Maybe there was just, it's that meeting of everything where it's sort of the best time. And yet, advice from friends would be when I started the business, this is the worst time for you to start a business. Your personal life is in crisis. You can't afford to do it. Many 101 reasons. And it's whatever motivates you. I sort of, in a way, I took more from the reasons why people felt I shouldn't do it than that sort of reinforced me, I think, to do it. Because there was that sense also, if I don't start it in this decade, could I start in my 60s?
Yes.
Which I was round a dining room table in Australia a few months ago with a woman who had a very good idea in her 60s. And I said, you damn well do it now. It's an amazing idea. So there is no wrong or right decade, but I think maybe you just learn a few things as you go along.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the statistics show that the actually older entrepreneurs are much more likely to be successful. There's a huge study from America in the Harvard Business Review, which looks at older entrepreneurs who are, I think, 3 times more likely to be successful than those in their 20s and 30s, particularly if they've got some experience in the sector that they then set up a company in.
Yes.
Which makes sense. But there's still a real issue, I think, around female founders. We know that we get less than 2% of venture capital funding. So I just wondered kind of how you'd found that whole thing of being a kind of midlife female entrepreneur, what your kind of experience has been kind of with the wider world. And I noticed that you've got the EY Rising Star Award for entrepreneurship. Congratulations. But they gave it to you very much for...
It's like
Rising Star. I love it.
Yeah.
But in one's 50s, that's a good thing to be.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, a good topic of conversation tonight is how we view age, because even when you say the older whatever, or I had a woman come up to counter me last week saying, what can you do for mature women? And I'm like, please, mature.
Sounds like cheese.
It's a cheddar cheese. It's not a woman. And there is a big difference between I'm mature as opposed to the maturity of something. I just find the way we position ourselves sometimes isn't the most helpful. But when I was going out there, and it was probably, there were lots of reasons it was challenging, and they weren't all to do with age. Some of them were to do with how I perceived I should come across when I'm raising money, and learning to address the room you're in, and many women here will be in male-dominated businesses in some form, or have been, or, and I think that there's that tendency to, I don't know if any of you saw the Meryl Streep quote, brilliant interview when there was Tom Hanks, Spielberg there with her. It was not that long ago. And it was about the language of talking to men. It was so funny. Only Meryl Streep could have done it that way. And it was just understanding, how can you get somebody to hear what you want to get across? And I didn't know that at the beginning when I was fundraising. I wanted to paint the whole picture. I wanted to draw them into the world of what I wanted to create with the business. But it was just too much at once to dissect. And I think that, everyone's brain works differently, but if we had to generalize between men and women, I think there's a compartmentalization of information people require. So I would say, you're going to come to this world and we're going to do personalization. It's going to be cream based, it's going to be this, throwing the kitchen sink at it. And then when I sort of learned to evolve that, and I was like, I'm going to start, and I'm going to say that 3.5% of my social media audience will become customers. With that 5,000 people, I'm going to amplify them in this way. And then we're going to get on in 6 months in that I can afford Facebook ads, good article, and it's like that. And then I cracked the code, as it were, of just being able to change how I presented information. So I had a big learning curve in that. There was also bias. There was bias, people were like, do you think you're too old to start a business at this age? And there was also a one of understanding, and this is the thing I say in the book, the difference between, it's a bit about the intuition instinct stuff and about resilience, which are 2 things I talk about in the book. But I would have somebody say, this is a really good idea, but the personalization and the technology you want to use are more appropriate for a millennial audience, not for a Gen Y or baby boomer. And I had to appreciate that that's because they've probably had 5 investor presentations that day where, they were just taking little bits of elements, putting them together, and then throwing back at me what they felt I should do with the business without perhaps hearing why I felt there was a gap in the market. They were just dealing with knowledge they had and not thinking, let me vision or imagine what she's telling me could be true.
I think it's really interesting, because I think there's often a complete blind spot about what kind of women at this point kind of might be interested in. And I think there's also something there about our generation being very much a pioneering generation, that there haven't been women like us at this point before in history. I mean, you can see it in the census. So in 2019, women over 40 start earning more money than women under 40 for the first time ever. And there are now more women, because before everyone would, we often stopped earning money kind of while we had kids, or we didn't get back into the labour force. Yeah. So we're the first generation to have worked all the way through and to be hitting midlife, I think, with much better health and more resources, and I think more of a sense of agency that we can have an effect on the world. And I think that makes it difficult when you go and speak to a very kind of traditional male audience who aren't maybe realizing quite how women have changed, that you get a rather different kind of reaction. That's right.
I think it is. I do feel also a tendency of more women working over 40 is also because you need 2 incomes in a household. There's that as well. But I felt when I would present sometimes, and I'd give the whole pitch, give the age group, and sort of say it's an attitude, not an age, but definitely inferring it's plus 35. And then they would say, hold on a minute, and they'd get in their I don't know why balloons go up. Did you just see those?
Yeah, was that you?
It happened to me once before, and I can't remember. There's something that you say that makes balloons go up. Birthday? No, I don't know what it is, but balloons went up.
That was amazing. I will have to kind of run it back and see what it was that you said.
Or else it's poltergeist. But they'd say they'll get their 22-year-old assistant in to see if she would use it. And that would be their benchmark of the idea working or not. When I'd kind of, spent 45 minutes saying, I feel it's 35 plus women, definitely there's a gap in the market. There's some dinosaur brands out there. There aren't any challenger brands. I think we can think about how we can do things differently. I want to make it easy. There's a paradox of choice at the makeup counter. I want to be able to remove choice so that you can make decisions easier and know what decisions to make. So it was like that all fell on deaf ears. But then ultimately one person of the 249 that I emailed and then had 50 meetings of, one company invested, which was Unilever Ventures. And it was actually 2 women and 1 man at the meeting.
Yeah. Was that unusual?
No, it's really great, Unilever.
No, I don't mean at Unilever. I mean of the investor meetings. Was it unusual to have 2 women and a man?
What I was going to say is Unilever is very good at having quite a few women in its business. It was quite unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really interesting, and I really wanted to talk to you because I think that you've been such a trailblazer for what's possible for the kind of queenager audience. I went and interviewed Sheryl Sandberg out in at Facebook just before I set up Noon, and I was talking to her about this idea, and she was saying, the women women aged 45 to 65 are the most lucrative and underserved demographic in the whole of the marketing spectrum. And which, when you start digging into when you start digging into all the statistics, is completely true. But trying to get people interested in talking to us, as you discovered, is quite difficult. Why do you think?
I have no idea, because the logic states that one should listen, and it is a phenomenal market. Yeah, and I think I really don't know. I do think it's slightly changing, but even, when I do ads and when we look at the women that we have who show off our products, there is still such a habit, even from women in, their sort of 35, 40s plus, who are used to looking at a 20-year-old selling them things. So there's sort of tokenism of, number 7 will have an older model, but
Yeah.
there is general in the air. So you even have to get your audience used to the idea of seeing a reflection of themselves and still appreciate the benefits of what that product's doing. And sometimes, the team I have, it's very interesting that they're all much younger. And they're sort of 20s and 30s, but they will tend to sometimes do casting where I think that woman, you've just done your mother totally without the aspiration, and you have to have this balance that you want aspiration, but you want to know you could achieve it. And it's a really delicate balance, because beauty is still something which is about, selling dreams to an extent. And if you make it too real, the whole concept of how our minds have been trained in how we bought beauty over many, many years, you need to tweak as opposed to black to white overnight.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you think that in a way we're having to tackle our own internalized misogyny or our internalized kind of gendered ageism to
Yes.
look at older women?
Along with the appearance of filtering. And
right.
I think that I'm always surprised, because I don't love filtering, and I kind of feel that we got to, I do Botox and things like that, but I don't filter. We don't filter anything. We don't touch up photographs at Trinity London, but I don't filter anything on my Instagram either. And the amount of women who, if I'm doing, a personal appearance, they'll do pictures, and I'll notice every single woman over 40 has a filter on her phone, especially if it's a Samsung phone and stuff. And I'm like, why do you need, you look great. Why do you need to filter your face? It's you in front of me, and it's fabulous. And that, I think, is some form of pressure on what is acceptable, that's generating that.
Yeah. And do you think that what you're doing is beginning to change that?
I would hope so, because
was that part of your intention?
I'd hope so on 2 levels. One level is that I think we provide the best skincare out there in terms of ingredients. So actually, I think, when I was younger, skincare could not really change somebody's skin. You stayed out the sun. There were basic principles of what you did, because molecule sizes were bigger and it was harder to get ingredients that penetrated, and everything was basically a cold cream with a nice smell. And then things evolved, but serums per se didn't come out till the sort of 80s. The 90s, you started to have a beginning of a conversation of retinoids. Naughty's really the beginning of retinoids commercially and out of prescription. And then the 2010s onwards, there's these ingredients that appear in skincare, which actually also clinically can do good, especially if you have not stayed on an SPF 50 since you were 12. So I think that there is possibility now to really look after yourself and look after your face, and it's your choice whether you just do a cold cream and nothing else, or whether you do Botox or a facelift. There's a whole gamut in between of what every individual has to feel they're comfortable with, and what they want from what they want from their appearance. So for me, I want to not look tired. And it sounds a weird one, but I want to look in the mirror and I want to feel full of energy, because if I feel full of energy, I will have an incredibly powerful, stronger day. And if I wake up and I look exhausted and I feel even more exhausted, then my day can be quite draining. And it is all about, for me, the book, all the advice in the book is about how can we give ourselves the optimum amount of help to have the most energy, to have the best day, and thereby feel less and have the best life and be more.
And do you think that there's a real kind of correlation there between kind of putting on something so you look less tired and feeling less tired?
I think there's a whole mix. So I think that I believe strongly in HRT, and I will take it till I'm knocked into my coffin. I do a ton of my own research on it. And apart from if you have 80% of breast cancers, it's possible most women can. That probably gives me my most energy. And I'm not of the habit of saying, our bodies, this happens, whatever, and we should just, unwind. We should let our hair go gray. I want to lead the fullest life I can lead as long as I can. I enjoy life and I really embrace it. So I would want to do that and not have such hormone depletion that I get tired and exhausted and low. So that's one thing. And then supplementation around that and looking at where supplementation is today. And I'm a huge advocate of, I don't know if any of you listen to Huberman Labs, but I love Andrew Huberman, and he talks a lot as a neuroscientist out of Stanford around the effects of really good supplementation, not like redoxal vitamin C, but or whatever that one is called, Berocca vitamin C. But when we're talking about NNM and NR, these are two very interesting new supplements that help to sort of feed the NAC, which is what I'm just going to call it the energy cell in our body, because that's a very generalistic term. If there's any biologists in the room, please tell me the right terminology. But it gives you this energy. So I look to supplements that give energy and give me a balance, and I rattle. I take a lot of supplements. Then
so I had somebody email me earlier saying, ask Trinny if she could take one supplement, what would it be?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to answer that, because I think that's the wrong way around it, because also everyone is slightly different. And I feel it's you can look at supplements some people take and they might have a calcium deficiency or a magnesium deficiency. And I think you should test in case you have any deficiencies. But I don't believe, unless I live on a farm, that I'm going to get supplementation from food. I believe that 50% of it is gone by the time I eat it, because it's been in a cold storage unit and it's a few days off picking. So I feel really strongly about supplementation. And yeah, I just, for me, I feel strongly about it. And
so if somebody was interested in you saying that and wanted to kind of find out what the kind of cutting edge things are, would you suggest the Huberman Labs podcast?
I love the Huberman Lab. I mean, he'll talk about psilocybin as much as he'll talk about eyesight. He did a phenomenal one on eyesight and just why our eyes degenerate. And I learned so much about eyesight. And I am at heart a nerdy scientist. We have a lab for Trinity London because we develop everything inside our own lab. And I'm very nerdy scientist when it comes to looking out for new ingredients. So I think that thing of, your hormones play a part in this energy. Your supplements play a part in this energy. Your moving your body plays a huge part in energy. So for me, I did Pilates when I was sort of in my 40s. But it was done, to be toned and all this kind of stuff. And exercise for me now is strength. It's all about being strong and being physically strong, so I could move a table if I had to. But also, this is my protection of future years. I want to be 70 and not fall and have a problem from it. So how do I protect my bones? I protect my bones by having good muscle around them. Our muscle degenerates post-menopause. We lose 2% collagen a year and the surroundings. So I want to have strong muscles that protect my bones. My mother has osteoporosis and I'm on that, cusp. So I sort of look at that. Then I look at
and so what do you do? Do you do kind of strength training kind of?
I do yoga twice a week, something called Rocket Yoga with a very nice woman who's a Get the Gloss, but a yogi practitioner called Victoria Woodall. And I do it live if you want to join me at 7:30 a.m. on a Tuesday and 9 a.m. on a Sunday on Instagram. And so I do that. Then I do strength training, which is using weights, but small weights. And I do that 3 times a week. So that kind of feeds and then I try and walk a lot. So that feeds my physical, and I think that feeds for me mental health. Then recently, because I'm very stressed in my life in terms of work, I've got into meditating. And I used to be quite light about it, Eleanor. I used to sort of think, and I'm also, my brain goes 1,000 miles an hour. So meditating for me is like, oh, please, when is it going to finish? Whenever I'd announced it before I'd been whatever, thing. And then I read, I have a woman that I see in America for my hormones, and she's an endocrinologist, and she wrote a lot of books on hormones. And one fantastic book, if you're interested in your hormones, called The Hormone Solution. It's a brilliant book describing how hormones affect our body. But she said to me, Trini, I want you to do this meditation because Massachusetts General Hospital took this 22-minute meditation and they tested it on women for 58 days and it changed their neural pathways. So I thought, wow, an accredited meditation, that's weird. And it's on something called Insight Timer. It's an app. And it's by this guy called David G. And I think it's J.I. And it's called Deep thought. And when you've got the right one, you'll see in the description, it says, clinically trialed by Massachusetts General Hospital. Anyway, it's a 22-minute meditation. I put it on before I went to bed, and I've done it for 58 days. And I really felt, first of all, I felt this space open up in my day in terms of not letting things build up so much. You know, I would get to a stage where we can all tell when we're getting more stressed this time of year, we can get much more stressed. And so there's things that would take us to quite quickly to a place of like, and I feel that is lessened somewhat, or it takes me longer to get to that place. So I'm just doing it. I just feel, so that's that. So we got then that. And then the skincare is a given for me. It's about facial massage, doing skincare, putting on ingredients that really change your skin. I think the most important 5 ingredients, wherever you get these from, are SPF 50.
Yeah.
Through that window, you are going to get damage. 40% of the damage to our skin occurs when it's not sunny.
Wow.
And it can occur through a window. So just looking at SPF 50 as a moisturizer. So I made one which feels just like a moisturizer. You don't think you're wearing a 50, and it's phenomenal. But wearing a 50 every day, and you know, a 30, yes, but if like in summer 50, having some form of exfoliation, which is an acid exfoliation, because I probably have most women who come up to me and say, Trini, what can I do for my dry skin? Is I'll feel their skin. I'll close my eyes and go around their face and feel their skin like this. And all of you who are watching now, do this with me, all right? Because I want to see how much you need exfoliation. So close your eyes and just feel your skin, not what somebody has told you your skin is like, but just feel it and go to your hairline and think, is that really clear, or is there tiny little bumps there? Are you the kind of woman who washes your face, but you don't want to muck your hair up, so you never kind of get to that bit around your ears, you know?
I love looking at this Zoom call of everyone like kind of poking their hairline. It's hilarious.
And then go under here and just feel, I want you to feel this part too around here, and just feel, is there a bit of, do you feel there could be some congestion there? Could it be that your lymph nodules here might be a bit blocked? Do you wake up in the morning with a puffy face, for example? And if so, it could be you need to do some lymphatic drainage around your ears when you wake up. But if you feel there was a little bit, and then feel in the middle here, does it feel that there's hydration here? Is it equal through? And then go underneath your eyes and just feel, is there a draggy dryness under your eye? Does the skin feel much thinner? And then around your cheeks, you know, do they feel plump? Do they feel when you press them in, they spring out again? Do they feel there could be some surface dryness? Do you have a little bit of rosacea and it's presenting as this kind of slightly dry bits on top? And then around your nose, do you feel it slides better around your nose? Is it a bit oilier or not? So just having that relationship with your skin where you close your eyes and just see what it's like might tell you a few things. But I think there's some good tricks to change skin. So if you feel your skin feels dry, it could be it's dehydrated or dry. So dehydrated is when you don't have enough water in your skin, and you're also doing things that suck the water out, and dry is you don't have enough oil in your skin. So if your skin is dehydrated, it means that you can do this little test. So for a week, could you drink 2 liters of water a day and not have coffee? And I know that's really tough for some people. You get
no coffee, that sounds really bad.
But if at the end of that week, you think, you know what, my goodness, my skin is not as dry, it means you're dehydrated. The other third contributor to dehydrated skin is stress, because when we're very stressed, we release a stress-releasing hormone, cortisol, and that dehydrates skin. So those 3 factors could mean it's dehydrated. But if at the end of that week you still feel dry, then your skin has 2 things going on. One is that it's losing some oils, but the other is that maybe the dead skin cells sit on the top and you need to exfoliate them off with a liquid exfoliant, not a physical exfoliant. The difference between liquids and physical, a liquid exfoliant contains acids that go deeper in your skin, and there are acids you can, you know, like imagine a toner. Imagine Clinique stage 4 toner that had acids in it, strong ones though. But there's many liquid exfoliants today. A PHA is very sensitive for sensitive skin. A BHA is for an oily skin, and a AHA is for a normal skin that can tolerate things. But they'll wipe off those dead skin cells. And those dead skin cells you know, our skin turns over until we're premenopause once every month. But when we're postmenopause, it's once every 2 months. So it takes a long time to generate new skin. And then that old skin sits on the surface. So unless you exfoliate it off, you won't be able to then put lovely ingredients into your skin, because there's always this kind of barrier. It's like, imagine you have a table and there's dust on the table and you get out the polish without wiping off the dust first. That's what's happening when you put a moisturizer on top without exfoliation. So it's really important. So you've got exfoliation, you've got SPF 50, then you've got vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. But what vitamin C will do is it will just even skin tone, give you a glow, and majority of people will have sun damage. And when you have sun damage, you might not notice age spots, but when you get to menopause, you have the epidermis and the dermis, and in between you have these things called melanocytes, and those are things that are damaged. You know, when you get sun damage, they're hovering there, they're waiting for hormonal change to go hello. And so they do, and they do it on our hands, they do it on our face. And if we had damage in our 20s and didn't use SPF, they might just stay there simmering away, and then you go perimenopause and menopause, and suddenly you get these age spots. So you know, using vitamin C when you're younger, if any of you have daughters in their 20s, just throw it at them, because it will help to take the hit of that damaging effect of the sun, whilst SPF will take the, you know, protect your skin. But the combination is really important. And if you're older, vitamin C can break down some of that, those age spots. So really important what I'm doing, give you an evenness. And I think when we feel our skin is even, we feel energetic. There's something good about evenness of skin tone.
No, that's really that's helpful in terms of different kind. I've got there's lots of things on the chat going, is that why my skin looks so dull? And kind of people feeling it and saying, oh, there are bits which are oily, and also other people asking for the details. So we might come back to you afterwards and say, can we get we get our ABV and ABAs in the right order?
Yeah,
if that would be all right, maybe
absolutely.
That would be good. And then so somebody else is I'm just looking at some of the questions. So someone was asking about nutrition in midlife. So you were saying that you don't think that you're getting that we're getting enough nutrition from necessarily from the food that we eat.
This is all my opinion, but my opinion is probably based on trying to meet as many people as I can, to then pass on information. But one thing I believe very strongly is the effect of sugar on our body as we get older. Okay. And Zandy, our mutual friend, scientist, is obsessed with this.
Yes.
And that sort of internal glycation of your body, like that sort of chicken in the oven moment of we're cooking away inside our body, and sugar accelerates it. But I do know for me that when I have sugar now, because of everything I've done in the last year, I've reduced my sugar by about 90%. But it really, if I have sugar, I can feel the swelling in my ankles. I really feel the effect. And I think, God, you know, I threw in 4 of Lila's sweets, and I'm like that now, you know, those Haribos, that's like, you know, I feel it like immediately. And I do think that, you know, when I look at it on a practical level, I think this, our stomachs looked after us for years, but it gets tired and it doesn't process so quickly. And it's not like a machine in giving a common, easy bowel movement, etc. It's just, you know, it's gone through a lot. It's processed a lot of food we've thrown at it. So we have to look after it. So we have to look after our gut, and we have to look after our bowel. And so I do think giving it an easier journey, like I've started to do this thing. I'm quite obsessed with The Glucose Revolution, which is a book I read last year, and I loved it. And the woman who wrote that book has something called the Glucose Goddess on Instagram, which I'm sure many of you know, but she just talks about the effect of food on us. And she did this research. She used to work at, I think it was called 23andMe in San Francisco, which is a data-driven company on analyzing your blood work. But she then went on and did these tests on 6,000 people to find out what food has as an effect on our body. And so she does these very clever little diagrams, and they show if you eat food in a certain order, what happens to your blood sugar levels, and therefore how that affects the process, the way you have to process glucose and fructose, etc. And so I changed my eating habits quite dramatically this year. And like I start my day with a plate of broccoli, which I hate broccoli, all right? So this is where I'm just not having the cream cake of my desire, or the croissant, almond croissant and cappuccino, which is what I used to have for breakfast. plate of broccoli, and then I have an omelette with herbs in it, and then I have toast, and I do it in that order. And I kind of get that broccoli, and I'm like, I put tons of olive oil on it because I want lovely fiber for my intestinal gut. You know, I want to give it that lovely fiber. So everything else I deliver down there, it will go, hi, come on in. It's okay. We're going to process you well, instead of, you know, almond croissant, boom.
Yeah.
You know, acidic coffee, boom. So some of it, you know, I never want to take away the enjoyment of food because I love food. And luckily I live with a stepson and a nephew right now who also love food. So they always cooking me food when I get home, if I've come home late. But I think it's important that we can't process things at different stages of our lives, maybe how we used to. And we have to respect our body to think, well, how can I help it?
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. And I think that's probably something that we all kind of, you know, intrinsically feel. I've got people who are quite cross in the chat saying that you were talking about 5 things for the skin,
yes,
and we only got to 3.
I'm going to give.
So we need 2 more, because otherwise I'm being given
SPF 50, exfoliant, vitamin C, retinoids. Now I'm going to give you the 2-minute knowledge of retinoids. So retinoic acid is the prescription version. So it's already retinoic acid, and that helps to accelerate skin cell turnover. So you get newer skin quicker. So it can kind of give you fewer fine lines and wrinkles, et cetera, et cetera. Good for sun damaged skin too. So that's prescription. Lots of people do prescription who should. If you have chronic acne, it's a treatment for acne, but lots of people do it for wrinkles, and then they're using a prescription product when you don't always need to. And then you also have downtime for your skin. If you use a retinoic acid, it converts twice. It converts once on the surface of your skin, which will give you a surface redness and peeling, and then it converts inside your skin. So there's 2 chemical processes that occur. So some people can have a few down days in a month, and they sort of think, I'll do that. I got dry skin. I like the retinoid. They get a bit addicted to it. So that's retinoic acid already. Vitamin A cream sometimes. It's called Retin A is what it used to be called. Then you have all the other commercial ones. Now, there's lots which are really good, and there's lots of shit. So when you see something says, we have retinol, whatever, there's a family, and that can be retinol palmitate, which if you see it on the back of an entry list, just throw it away. It's going to do nothing for your skin, and it's a marketing ploy, and just don't buy it. Then you have Granactive retinoid, which is a soft, slower acting retinoid, very nice for sensitive skin, and will do that skin cell turnover. Then you have retinol, which is a traditional one, and it converts twice as well, and it can be a little bit abrasive on the skin. And then you have retinal, which is a next generation form of retinoid, which converts once. So it goes in your skin, it's encapsulated, so it protects the entry point, like, you know, the rocket coming back to Earth. And then it starts working when it's inside your skin, and it starts working on converting, you know, into retinoic acid, which then in turn stimulates your collagen and helps skin cell turnover. So retinoids are really good, but you have to find the right one. So it's just looking on the back of the INCI list, the ingredients list, and seeing, does it have retinol, Granactive retinoid, but retinol palmitate? No. So that's 4.
Yeah. Fifth.
The 5th one is cleaning your skin properly. So lots of people might think in the morning, I don't need to clean my skin. And I always feel that when you wake up, and I have lots of controversy on this, but I believe it strongly, is there was a really lovely facialist called Eve Lom, and she used to do my skin for about 10 years, amazing woman. And she would always talk about this thing called the witch's brew. And the witch's brew is what overnight when we sleep, our body regenerates, and it allows everything to be released because we're not fighting the day, we're relaxing. So if there's toxins, to me, they can be released. If there's, you know, that's why you might get a spot overnight, because it's just having a chance to relax, and it goes, let's go and pop ourselves. And you might wake up and have this slight film on your skin and think, oh, I look a bit glowy. But to me, that is that stuff coming out. And I think you should wash it with more than water. So I do think cleansing, a gel cleanser in the morning or a balm cleanser, whatever your skin's like. And then in the evening to clean your skin twice, because we need to clean what we don't see. So the first cleaning could be makeup, but the second cleaning is everything you don't see. It's a residue of SPF, which takes longer to get off your skin, because only when your skin is really clean will you have a wonderful canvas to then put anything else on. If you bought a nice expensive serum, it will work even better. So those are the 5 things.
Brilliant, thank you. They'll be happy now with me on the chat. I was in quite a lot of trouble. Now I've had several questions about this, which is that in your book there's lots of stuff about kind of different colouring and things. I've been trying to work out what I am, probably quite warm, I think.
And nothing for grey hair.
There's nothing for grey hair, which is a massive thing for the Queen ages.
No, but it's terrible because it was left off in print. And the American version has it, and it was left off, and we didn't pick it up because on trinilondon.com we have grey hair everywhere, and you tick what you are. So what I suggest for anyone with grey hair is go on to trinilondon.com and do the makeup match to me, and you'll get cool, neutral, warm, etc. You'll get your categorization, and then go back to the book and do everything that the book says. But actually what the website says the book doesn't do is that when you see your cool coloring, for example, if you go on the website, when you do the skincare match to me, you put in your skin, hair and eye color, you'll get this return with the makeup you suit, but underneath you'll get the colors you suit. And the hardest thing about wearing color is what color to wear it with. And that's what I think puts some people off wearing color, because they just think, well, I don't know what color to wear it with. And this, you click on, it gives you 2 complementary shades you can wear it with. One is a little bit more out there and one is softly complementary. And I think it then encourages people. So if we go back to the thing, Eleanor, of saying, what is it in life that drives me? There's the meditation, the exercise, doing supplements, the skincare, the makeup, but there's wearing color.
Yeah.
And I think what it can do for you psychologically, and also just perspective of the joy it can bring you to wear more color, and the joy it will bring those people around you too. I think if any of us put ourselves and think of people we've seen who've been wearing great colors, we're sort of very drawn to them. We go, God, that looks fantastic on you. It's when compliments ooze out of our mouths because we think, wow, and it's so often associated with color.
Okay, no, that's good. And of course, sparkle. I put on my sparkly scarf especially for you today, Trini, because I've been reading the book and it's all about the sequin.
I think that sparkle is politically a hot potato right now because, well, luckily there's sequins that are also made from recycled plastic. But I think how we buy things, I am, I talk in the book about fear of financial insecurity and also compulsively purchasing a bit. But I think I also love clothes. And I don't, up till last week, actually, I hardly buy things for my house. My sofa is 25 years old. It's like I spend my money and everyone focuses on one thing more than another. And mine has always been clothes. But I also appreciate that I have to love something and I have to think of all the ways that I will wear it. So the weekend I went to Zara and I found these beautiful Chanel inspired shoes. And I thought, will I wear them? I haven't worn shoes like that for 30 years. So am I just having a moment? So I took them home. I tried them with 20 different things. And I thought, yeah, they have a home. Welcome to your friends. Come and join the family. But I think we need to look at, I think the audience I'm speaking to are probably real brilliant that way. But, my daughter's age, well, actually they are too, because they're really in sustainability. Maybe it's
my daughters buy everything off kind of Depop or Vinted and things like that. They hardly buy anything.
It could be the millennial a bit, the older millennial who still is.
The Gen Zs are all about the kind of the thrift shop, the vintage.
Totally.
And do you do much of that? I was looking at some of your reels at the weekend, and it seems like there's quite a kind of high volume of Trini kind of clothing purchases. Would that be fair?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's my wind down. I work quite hard, and sometimes at the weekend it's like a meditation. It's another form of meditation for me. And also it's a part I can justify and say it's my work, and I want, I'll have things that inspire people, to give them ideas for things. But I love clothes.
Yeah, which is fine. My great old friend who worked with me on the Sunday Times, Tiffany Dark, it has been doing this rule of 5 thing. So Tiffany, who's like the biggest kind of fashion addict ever, has only bought 5 new things this year. And I must say, I see her a lot, and she always looks fabulous. Partly because she was style editor, so she's got the kind of, you know, back of the closet, which most of us would like only dream of. But what have you been tempted to kind of to do something like that to see if you could really
I've
kind of pull
done,
it back?
I do dry January, so I
Right.
never buy anything in January. And then I last year thought, can I keep it on a bit? I only kept on about another 2 weeks. So I'll see what I do this year. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't
That
know.
was her. She said to me, "You must ask Trini if she'll do rule of five." I said, "I thought you wouldn't do rule of five, but you might kind of think
Absolutely won't
about
do
it."
rule of five. No, I would. But I am. But what's interesting is because I sold a lot of my clothes, and I say this with a very full few wardrobes behind me, so you can just see how bad it is. But when I spent 25 years in fashion, I did build up and I didn't get rid of anything. So I did a big sale of my clothes, which helped me fund Trinity London.
Mm.
And I used to keep books on my clothes. Like
Wow.
I'd make Apple books. So I'd have the coat book. Eleanor, I had a coat book of my different coats. And then I had
How many coats were in the coat book?
150. And then I
Oh my
had
God.
the dress book.
How many?
I'm going to stop now. But anyway, Lila, through these books, where's that? Where's it? Went in the sale. Where's that? Went in the
Oh
sale. Where?
no.
Yeah, she's like, I was actually upset she found these books. Yeah,
Because she's not looking at all the wonderful things you've still got. She's going, "Where's that? I wanted to wear it tonight."
yeah. But you know what? Things take a while to filter down with me sometimes. And I'd heard about Tiffany's thing and I thought that's kind of fantastic.
Hmm.
And I did this thing in the book where I did different ways of dressing, and one of them was the minimalist. So I took 6 things and I made 25 outfits from these 6 things, but it was all black and white.
Yeah.
There is a nuance in fashion editors also that things are very monochromatic, and lots of fashion editors used to be tremendously monochromatic.
Yeah.
So when you love color, you want that choice of colors going with colors. And I think that for me, I see it as a bit of a reference library because I'm talking, let's say, about how to wear yellow, and I want to have every yellow there so I can show. I've done lots of Cosmic Confessions where it's been about, I've done 15 different colors on
Yes,
over the
and
year.
there's lots of course there's lots of that in the book, which is great and really helpful.
Yeah.
I think if you're thinking, well, I would quite like that, but what on earth would I wear it with? And
Yeah.
I think that's really true on the color thing that you think, oh, I like that, but it's bright pink. Do I wear it with a black skirt? No, that looks a bit weird. Kind of, what color do I wear it with? So I think that
Yeah.
bit of the book's really helpful.
I feel if you can have a sense of what colors to wear with things, it opens up everything. And I always find new renditions. Like I looked at something, cobalt blue is always a really difficult color to wear, but I saw it with mint 2 days ago, and I put it on my Instagram. Yesterday actually, just like a color combination I hadn't considered. And I thought that's so beautiful together. Those colors are just so utterly complementary to each other, and they make each other sing.
Do you think that you were really an artist, that you should have been like a painter or something, putting these colors
No,
together?
I'm appalling. I mean, in my dreams, Eleanor, I've like probably got a D minus in art, but no, but I love color. I love color, and I
Um,
do. I grade things by color. Like I was reading, but
do you have
in
books? Are your books in color order on
no, my books
shelves?
by subject matter,
Good.
and I think color is for those people who don't read. So
I'm so glad you said that rather than
I think
me.
so. I mean, it was such a COVID moment. But in what was interesting is I did my wardrobe, and I do have another. I'm like a rabbit with rabbit warrens. I've got a garage downstairs. I'm in a muse. I've got a garage downstairs which has things shoved in it. Then I have a storage unit, so I kind of forget where everything is. But here, I realized when I redid it this weekend, and I thought I'm going to do so. That's long hanging things, but over here, I've got so much more black than I realized
Mm.
because I put all my black things together, and then on the other side is navy. So I do see what colors, and then over there we've got
Oh yeah, the
more
neons and the pinks.
orientated. Yeah.
I have to say, Tony, I'm extremely envious of your kind of, what do you call this room? Is it your kind of your closet? What's it? What do you call it?
It's
Do
my
your like
sort of
dressing room?
it's my dressing room, and it's where I do films from. But all the when I did this, and I've rented this house, I spent £680 at IKEA to create everything. So this unit down here, you see, I'm very anal. I put all my charges, and I put little markers on them. But these are 2 IKEA units, which are like £83 each, and I put them together to make an island. And then all these ones, like the belts there, those all, you know, just ones the same ones. It's called, I can't remember what the unit's called, but it's fantastic. And the room suited it to do it. And, you know, I could have given this room as a sort of second sitting room area or something. And I thought, no.
But I think that there's something about being a kind of queenager at this point in our lives, that if we want to turn a room into our amazing kind of closet dressing room, then we can.
Where did
I think we should do what makes us happy. It's
Eleanor?
It's me.
It's you. But what's its origination?
Oh, so its origination is, we did a big bit of research at Noon, with which we called the Inside the Lives of Queenagers, The Secrets of Midlife Women. And one of the women in that research talked about, she said, I'm 50. She said, but I feel like a teenager, but in my own house with nice sheets and good tea, which I really liked. And then I spent quite a lot of time in Jamaica, where they talk about, you know, all women as queens and kind of, you know. So somehow in my like 25 years of writing headlines brain, I thought queenager was quite fun, and it kind of summed up both that like hormonal, you know, we're a bit like teenagers, we've got a slightly hormonal shift, we're moving into a new chapter. It felt kind of quite celebratory and kind of happy. And so I kind of adopted it as, so we took that Noon, which is our platform, as the home of the queenager. And people seem to like it. We've been in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Bloomberg, Telegraph. It was one of the words of last year. So, you know,
shall I go through some of the questions and just do quick fire answers?
Yes, and I've got a whole load in my pad as well from before.
I'm going to do 10 really quickly because I'm just seeing everyone here. So lac, thank you so much, everyone. The lac, that's exactly what it is. Powdered collagen. I think that encapsulated collagen can be good to take. It needs a delivery system that will get it through the intestinal wall so that it gets into where you need to get to. If you take those hard pills, I don't believe they're great. Absolute collagen is a liquid collagen. That's fantastic. But to get collagen to get all the way out to your skin is the hardest journey for the collagen to make. Powdered, I think there are some good ones. It depends if you want bovine or marine, you know, different ones. But I think some of them can get through. I take Ingenious Collagen, which did an encapsulation system, which I did some research on. I thought was amazing. Okay, this is a question a lot of people are going to say. Why is it I don't seem to be able to tolerate my beloved Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc anymore, when for years I used to be able to knock it back with the best of them? This is about our ability to process sugar.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That is unfortunately the problem. Broccoli, it could be. The book is it's in the US in May. Yes, gut health. Yes,
we've done some of these. I've got some others on which I was emailed.
Darling. Yeah, give me your others.
Okay, so what's your best advice? I love this. Somebody said, what's your top tip for banishing dark thoughts in the middle of the night?
Oh, yeah. I think I do take, I mean, for me, I take melatonin quite a lot, and that's just a personal thing. But I found that sleep is more important for my mental health than not sleeping. And over the years, I've taken sleeping pills for a number of years. When my daughter's father died, I did take sleeping pills for about 2 or 3 years. And that was, I just wanted to sleep through the night. And then I read some book my nephew gave me on sleep about how you don't get the regeneration you need if you take a certain type of sleeping pill. So then I did circadian, which is prescription melatonin. But the other thing is that we're kept awake sometimes by fear, you know, and that those are the dark thoughts. And I know that our projection of what we could be scared about compared to what actually will happen, there's a big divide. But when you're in that state already and there's butterflies in the tummy and you're feeling just fearful and not knowing outcomes and not being able to control outcomes, and that can become overwhelming and keep you awake at night. So I found that I need to slightly dissect what I'm fearful about. You know, I need to kind of bring some rationale into it. I need to talk to people, because I probably get those thoughts the most when I'm the most isolating in my friendships and I don't share what I'm feeling. And so I won't have anyone there to sort of interrupt my irrational thought. So it's a mixture of those things, really. And then I listen to meditation, or I just listen to an Audible if I just actually can't get to sleep and I just have something really boring thing to drown me out. But it's, it depends on what it's based on. It's very individual.
No, thank you. I think that's really good advice. And then somebody else sent me a very heartfelt email saying about advice for career kind of reinvention. She said she's not sure what to do next. She's terrified of failing. She's done 30 years in corporate life. She just doesn't, she's kind of too scared to do something new in case it doesn't go well. And so she really wanted to ask you that because she felt that you'd really reinvented at this point. And what were your tips?
I think it's amazing, after 30 years of what I'm sure has been a brilliant career, we can totally remove from our mind why we did that so well and why we might do something badly. And it's forgetting what we know, forgetting what we've learned, and forgetting that we have knowledge inside of us. And it's a sort of, in a way, it's an older person's imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is something that's associated, I don't love the terminology, with younger people. And it's generally because you don't know enough and you just need to learn, so if there's somebody in their 20s and they're feeling a bit of an imposter, it's perhaps because they are in a room and something's being discussed and they don't get it and that they just need to learn it. But when you're older and that happens and you've had great confidence or longevity in one job and you think, I'd like to do something, I don't want to kind of, I would like to do something by myself. It's going from fully corporate to entrepreneur is sometimes a tougher journey because you've never ultimately been fully responsible for the company.
Yeah, and then that was the journey I went on because I'd been a Rupert Murdoch employee for 25 years, and then suddenly to be entirely your own band is quite a thing.
It is quite a thing. And then I heard this thing that I love from a woman who started something called By Women Built, Sahar Hashemi. And it's a really lovely association for women, not dissimilar to Not on the High Street founder Holly, but supporting smaller businesses. And she said this thing when we were all doing a talk somewhere, saying it's about jumping, not knowing there will be a net. So it's, what stops you when you want to do something? You can either think, is the idea good enough? Will it fail? You can put all these things in front of it, or you can just try. And the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out. I've had 3 businesses that I've had before that didn't work out. And at the time, it can be horrendous. If there's a financial commitment, it is obviously perhaps more challenging. But, the time I started Trinny London, and I've told the story before, so it's boring for people if they've heard it, but I was 50. I was living in a house that was way too expensive for me. The mortgage I could not afford. My income was drying up because I'd stopped doing telly and I was doing a few little bits abroad. And, all my friends were saying to me, you should just get a job. And mine was the opposite, really. I didn't know who would employ me because I'd been self-employed, going from contract to contract with journalism and with TV for years. So I'd never been in full-time employment since I was 28. And the idea of going to a full-time job being employed by somebody else, I just felt nobody wanted. And a part of that probably is what made me start Trinny London, but also I thought there's so much that I can lose, but I kind of lost it. Like, I know I've got to rent out the house. And then once I rented out the house, I knew I'd have to sell the house, and this is something I'd saved up for 10 years to have the house of my dreams. And I had it for 2 years and then I had to let go of it at age 50 when most people have paid off their mortgage. Well, not quite, but they're getting halfway down that road. So that was a really challenging one for me to kind of feel, I don't know where it's going to head. And I might be 70 by the time I own my own house, but I'm going to put everything into this business. And when you are in that situation, you work fucking hard so it doesn't fail. I have to say, it's a motivational driver like no other. and that, you know, the money I would have, you know, I don't have enough money yet to buy a home that I would like. I could buy a home with the money I have, but I choose to rent. But I will. And that money that, you know, the last bit of the money that I got from selling the house, I put in the business, and that has also reaped much more than if I'd bought a property.
Yeah.
You know, but the risk is greater. So it is that risk reward ratio. It's also, how will you feel if you don't do it?
Yeah.
You know, how will you feel? Will you just kind of each year just go into that slight, I wish, you know, I could, I would, I should, are words that I think I want to ban from my vocabulary. Because whenever I hear myself, like in a meeting, oh, I wish we had, or we should have, and I just think, shut the fuck up, Trini, you know, and I sort of say, then I rephrase it now and I go, next time when we do this, can we think about this? Because it just gets nowhere. It gets nowhere for me, gets nowhere for anyone around me where I say it to them. So if you decide not to do this thing you might have as an idea, and you have a lot of, I wish I could, I should, it's not a great conversation in your head.
No, and what we really see, I think, in Noon, and with all the kind of conversations I have with all my Queen agents, etc., is that it's kind of that real sense, I think, at 50 of, if not now, when, you know, that you've got a good kind of bit of time ahead of you, when it's not as young as we were, but we also kind of know a lot more, and there's just that sense of, you know, now I felt there's just the sense of, now is the time. If I'm going to do this, this is the moment. And I think that it's one of the things that I really try and encourage the kind of women in the community to do is still that real kind of seize the day. You know, what are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? You know, there's no point in kind of sitting there wishing that you've done something. Kind of give it a whirl. And I kind of think at 50, kind of in a way, you've got nothing to lose. You know, we kind of made enough mistakes going along the line. You might as well give it one more whirl, I think. And I think that that's the kind of the joyous part of the queenagerhood. I feel like we're really in our prime, and that we can become confident enough, I think, not to be naysayed by other people.
Yeah.
I think so. I want to ask you one more question, which is, what do you want to do next?
Oh, yes. I mean, this actually goes to a question there, but I had, it's if one goes down a path where you want to get funding for a business, it's quite challenging in the UK. You can do an SEIS scheme, which is an entrepreneurs initiative scheme, and it's a scheme where you might have some people you can bring in who are higher taxpayers, and therefore the loss to them is less if it's a SEIS, but you can only raise up to 150,000, and then you can do an EIS scheme raising, I think now, up to 2.5 million or 3 million. But it can be challenging, and seeing people is challenging. So I had felt, and when I you know, Trinity London is sold in a few different countries, and whenever I'm in those countries and I'm doing a promotion of Trinity London, I do this CEO dinner, and I invite CEOs, and we have generally people who have quite successful businesses, and we also have some new CEOs there, and we just try and have this collection of women, and we talk about issues that we're finding challenging. And then at the same time, recently, there was something called Forbes 30 under 30, and they've now done a 50 over 50.
50 over 50, which I love, yeah.
And it just gave me the idea of feeling I want to find 50 women who are generating over 50 million a year in their businesses, and then for those 50 women to help 50 women who need to get to 1 million revenue a year, maybe in order to get funding, because it's very difficult to get funded pre-revenue now. You need to kind of generally be post-revenue, unless it's a real sort of tech business.
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge. I meet lots of women on this thing I do on my channel called Elevator Pitches, and they might be earning between, you know, they might be getting 50 to 300,000 a year, but it's that through is really challenging. So I will start this in the next year, where I would like these women to help the other women to get to 1 million and get funded. So the mission would be that we get 50 women funded fully by VCs. And so that is definitely something that I think is really important to do. And having a global platform where you can go on a website, and you can say, this is me, this is a business. And depending on which country you're in, it will say which VCs are good for you to see, because there's a lot of people where don't waste your time. And there's a lot of people where just knowing certain things about that would be really good to know and helpful, you know.
Yes. And I agree that there's a kind of lack of that advice, I think, within the kind of female kind of CEO kind of founder community.
There is,
when I go along to things where there are lots of, Brent Hoberman, who was also Ox with me, there's all those kind of things, but they're not, it's not particularly helpful to the kind of queenager entrepreneur that I see.
Yeah, I think that the Founders Forum is an annual tech conference, which is great, but there's very few women there.
Hardly any women when you go. I mean, it's like there's stories about that we probably can't share here, but yeah, I mean, it's a very, very, and I was interviewing Martha Lane Fox the other day, who was saying that looking at what was going on in the tech sector, they're actually never going to get to parity as it is at the moment with kind of female leadership, that it's actually going backwards. And we also see that a lot in I've written a lot about 30% Club in the corporate world, that we're really stuck at about 11% of female executives in big corporates, more women on boards, but not actually pulling levers. So I feel really passionate about how we change that, because it's the kind of last bit at the top, which I think is feeling very resistant. And I think that female entrepreneurs like you are real, blazing a trail for the rest of us. So it was one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Well, maybe we can continue this discussion. And I know that everybody who's watching is so grateful to you for talking to us. I know how busy you are, so I really, really appreciate it. For those of you who haven't got a copy of Trinny's book, it's Fearless. Buy it for everyone you love over Christmas. It's really jolly. It'll tell them how to clean their face, but also how to wear colour in a more cheerful way. And also, I think that your more serious bits about kind of, anxiety or intuition and instinct are really, were really profound. I thought it was really good.
Thank you very much. I love Louise in the background, the two pink ladies. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I wish I could see all of them. I'm trying to get my bloody machine. It's not showing.
Hang on. We can probably
grid video, and it's not showing me the grid video.
Will it not give you the full if you do gallery?
It won't give me the gallery. Show thumbnail.
No. Maybe Megan, who's our wonderful tech person, can fiddle it. So you can. Can you put all your cameras on so we can see you all for Trinny? It's so lovely to see so many of you. Thank you so much for joining.
It's really thank you.
Yeah, lovely queenager faces. Hello, Jen. Lots of people I know really well. Hi, Rebecca. Lucy. So thank you so much. I hope you'll come back again as well.
Yes, I'd love to. Have a fantastic evening, everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't see you all in person. It's kind of weird, but now I can see all of you. Now it's much more fun because you're now all on the screen. And Lucy, you have great hair with the red tie. You've got phenomenal hair, Lucy. Can I just have a glance here? I'm just going to have a glance. 1 second. Can we just have a glance? Because it's just,
Lucy's my head of consulting at Noon. She's brilliant. She's just written a fantastic book called Revolting Women, which is all about what happens to women in midlife. I highly recommend it.
Revolting Women.
Revolting Women. Great title.
What a title.
One here. I'm waving at a family meeting earlier. So yeah, there they all are. So we have an amazing, a bit like
have you all met in person as well?
Lots of the women on here, we do a Noon circle every month in Soho. We all meet, and my mum has a consulting room in Soho, and everybody comes there, and we have these amazing chats, and we do retreats, and we're doing a Queenager ski trip in February. Lots of us went to Morocco last year and climbed up the Atlas Mountains. So it's all about
fantastic.
Yeah, starting a new chapter and what's possible at this point. It's all about being optimistic.
I love it. Brilliant.
Yeah. So, we love you. I wrote about you in my Queenager newsletter yesterday, so I don't know if you've seen that, but I'll send you a copy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you all of you for joining. It's so fantastic to see you all, and come again. Thank you, and big thanks to Megan for running the Zoom. Jen for.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank
you, Eleanor.
Thank you.